Yeah, so in cinemas from Monday is Spiral from the Book of Saw, or Saw 9, as it might otherwise be called. So the Saw series, began with comparatively low budget, rather inventive Saw. I remember the tagline, Dare You See Saw, which was great. James Wan Lee Winnell, stripped down idea, which kind of got less and less rewarding as time went on. I mean, the original is sort of like slightly dumbed down Seven, but nicely done. And then over the time, it became more about the torture and less about the revelations. Except that the time frame was just looping around on itself in ways that were completely mad. They'd keep going back to movies, and going, yeah, but in this thing happened in this movie. But if the camera was just over to the left, you'd see that this other person who wasn't it was in that, and it was just, oh, for heaven's sake. Then Saw 3D was meant to be the end. Then there was Jigsaw, which cost 10 million, took over 100 million. Actually, I saw it in the cinema and kind of enjoyed. Now Spiral, so directed by Darren and Busman, who did 3 of the sequels, I think, and starring and executive produced by Chris Rock, who also polished the script. So, and it is clear that there are certain bits of the script that are polished by Chris Rock. He's a cop, Zeke, who some time ago turned in a dirty cop, making him a bit of a Serpico figure, because he's gone against the force. His dad was also a cop, played by Samuel L. Jackson. They have lots of kind of wisecracking energy between them. There is a new series of Jigsaw-like murders, sort of copycat murders, that are getting him riled up at exactly the same time that he gets teamed up with a rookie. But here is a scene of him with Samuel L. Jackson.
You pull a gun on your old man? You out of your f***ing mind? I could have killed you.
What are you talking about? I got the gun.
I could have killed you.
How'd you get in here?
You forget who the landlord is?
Yeah, but that doesn't give you the right to just walk in here anytime you want. Renters got rights.
You start paying some rent, you can get some rights. I heard about Boz. You all right?
Nah, Dad, I'm f***ed up.
Sorry to hear that. I know how close you were. Jigsaw copycat. That could be difficult.
So that's it. Jigsaw copycat, this time killing cops. There's a sort of subplot about corruption within the police department, which sort of maybe sounds contemporary. And then there's the stuff, you heard a little bit of it there, Chris Rock and Samuel L. Jackson, which is kind of, snappy, sort of faster, kind of 48 hours style dialogue. In fact, I think when this was first pitched, they said that Chris Rock was going to do for Saw what 48 hours had done for buddy cop movies. And the director said there was going to be less emphasis on the gore, which was such a big part of the sequels. But this time the gore was all going to be in service of the plot. The truth is, really, there are 2 films here. One of them is a kind of film with Chris Rock as this detective who's, stood up and he's got this father figure, but he's kind of at odds with the police force, but he does all the kind of wisecracking stuff. And he's completely surrounded by cliche, cop cliches of, you can't just concentrate on the case, do the thing. But, and then there's the rookie cop, and the rookie cop is brought in and, I don't want to have a rookie cop with me, but, they kind of get a respect for each other. And then there are the torture scenes, which you may have seen the one at the beginning, because I think it's on, it's part of the publicity, is somebody having their tongue hideously tortured. And then there's another part with another part, extremities of somebody who are hideously tortured. And then there's another one later on, which is so obtuse that actually it seemed to me that the choice that you're being offered, I'd like to play a game, if you could live, but then you have to do this. And it seemed to me that the choices were you either die, or the only way to not die is to die. And I was like, pardon? So the strange, I mean, seriously.
Sorry, just give me that choice again.
Yeah, you have to die, or if
Yes.
you want to not die, the only way to do it is to die.
Okay.
And I'm going, okay, so it's odd. I must say, firstly, I don't like the torture stuff, because I'm not, I am slightly squeamish. I mean, I'm a big horror film fan, but people having their tongues pulled out and things is just not something that I've ever been particularly that I want to see. On the other hand, you've got this other part of the movie which is behaving like it's a different kind of movie, or maybe a classier kind of movie, maybe sassier, funnier, but classier kind of movie, even though it's absolutely cliche written. So what it feels like is a film that goes plot, torture, plot, 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 wisecracking, plot, torture, plot, 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 wisecracking, plot, torture, plot, 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 torture, end. And it's really bizarre because, I know that they're trying to keep the fans on board from the one thing, but I'm sitting there thinking, okay, well, now we've been in this mode, which is sort of got the kind of pretense of being a different kind of movie. And now what I'm thinking about is, okay, that last torture sequence, how did the equipment get there, and when was it installed, and what truck did you, and how did you get it past the, and what it had, this must have taken like 10 years to set up. And so whereas the original was a really stripped down and smart idea, and then the sequels were, variously less rewarding, you do get, this is kind of, it is a mixed bag of body parts that sets itself up for another sequel, but it did feel like two different things pulling in different directions. And I am quite bored with the torture stuff. It's now, if you showed me on screen somebody having their fingernails pulled off, for example, I'd go, ooh, wince, and I'd look away. And it's kind of, that's like Quiet, Quiet, Bang. But as I said, this isn't Quiet, Quiet, Bang. This is plot, wisecrack, torture. Plot, wisecrack, torture. Plot, wisecrack, torture. End.
Can I? This has come up in the past with particular relation to horror movies, and you've answered and explained why you love horror movies. I would like, I mean, because I'm sitting here listening to you describe this movie, and I am utterly bereft of any idea as to why anyone should want to be thrilled. Yes, to be disgusted. Yes, I can get that just a bit, but why would someone choose to want to watch torture in a movie? And clearly, as you've said, the figures would suggest that a lot of people do. But if someone could explain why, I think that would be worth an email.
Let me give you a very brief answer. This doesn't necessarily, this is a more general thing, but there is a general feeling that horror movies are sadistic. Actually, most horror movies are masochistic. When you see a situation when somebody is about to have something horrible done to them, you identify with that person. And an awful lot of the Saw torture thing is because you're imagining it happening to you. And no matter how crassly it's done, that's what it is. So I don't agree with the, this stuff is vile and I just don't like it, because I just, it doesn't scare me. I love being scared. I don't particularly like being winced out or grossed out. But also, it was a weird thing that there were other bits of the movie that were kind of, like I said, were going the other way. And I just kept thinking, can you just carry on? I mean, even though that stuff isn't very good, it's full of police cliches and everything, I prefer it to watching somebody and the thing, I want to play a game, And it's a different puppet this time because it's a different thing. But the whole setup is the same. I want to play a game. You once did something really bad with your left elbow, and now the choice to you is die or cut your own left elbow off with a hacksaw, There's a gag, incidentally, about the first film, but anyway, sorry, carry on.
I'd rather watch Mrs. Brown's Boys or the Harry Hill movie.
No, you wouldn't. Like no, I'd rather watch this than Mrs. Brown's Boys by quite a long way.
Well, that's also torture. It's just
but that's actual torture.